things. So thank you for joining us tonight. The purpose of tonight is simply to give you guys some information, especially for those that are first timers to the club and this is their first regional relays. Hopefully tonight will give you a bit of information. It's about 28 slides. I'm going to run through them pretty quickly, but look, by all means, because of the numbers that we've got, if you have a question, let it be known. Just voice it out. If it's going to be answered later in the slide, I'll let you know that. Otherwise, I'll answer that question there and then. So hopefully all this works. So tonight, in terms of the agenda, we're going to touch about before the day. So Sunday is obviously the day that the carnival takes place. So just a couple of things for before the day. Club uniform. I'll touch a bit on club uniform about what we need to do and what we have to make sure is right. The venue itself, a couple of rules around the venue. What you do when you arrive at the venue. The role of the team manager and what you can do to help the team manager on the day. We'll go through the 3 track events available and a couple of things about those track events. We'll also touch on field events, although that is a lot easier, to be honest. We'll go through some rules of relays and more so the common ones. We'll talk a little bit about the officials. Unfortunately, this event does lend itself to a lot of potential for protests. So we'll go through the protests so everyone's aware of how that part of it works. Call room duties, canteen duties, how you qualify to go through to state relays, and some questions. So there is some time at the end, hopefully, where we can have some questions asked and answered. So before the day, I guess the number one thing for the kids is get them excited. It's the only event that they will compete with their teammates. It's an awesome day for them to be out there running with their mates that normally they would not. So yeah, build it up, get them excited so they can really enjoy the day. Make sure they're rested and hydrated because relays, it's this year, I think the forecast last time I looked was 31, 32 degrees, so it will be hot. It's a full-on day. So if they've got a big program, a couple of relays and some track event, two track relays and a couple of field events, it's a big day for them. So make sure they've got plenty of rest leading into that day. And we've got a modified program Saturday anyway. Good night's sleep. It's going to be a very busy day. Probably the number one thing, make sure the uniform is all ready to go. It's not sitting in the laundry. It's not in the washing machine. It's not hanging on the line. It's all ready to go so that come Sunday, you're ready to rock and roll. All your other bits and pieces. I know my girls will vouch that I'm a pretty pedantic on this. Make sure all your stuff that goes with athletics is all in your bag, ready to go. Shoes, spikes, towels, hats, tops, bottoms, anything you can think of. Whatever they like to take, deep heats, those lotions, creams, anything. Make sure it's all ready because first event, 8 o'clock, you're going to have to be there around 7 o'clock at the latest. So for your uniform, what are the requirements? By now, we should have everyone pretty much on target with making sure the uniform's compliant. It's compulsory. You must wear your club uniform and it must be in full. So there's no allowances at this level now. Moving from regional through to state, uniforms must be 100% compliant. And I know we're running call room, but I run call room the same way as I would run it at states or national level. And that is the rules are the rules. So you must have your registration number clearly visible on your polo shirt, your crop, or your singlet. So crops and singlets for our 13s and above. So you can see the picture there. You can see the kids, they've all got their uniform. Their registration numbers are in front. You can see they've got their age patch on their arms and their Coles logo as well. So your age group patch, left arm sleeve, if wearing a crop or singlet, it's on the left side of your shorts or your bike pants. So that's the allowance there. Your Coles patch, front right chest side of your polo, crop or singlet as indicated in the picture. So I think most kids are pretty across that, but we're just going to make sure that we remind everyone again. Shoes, must wear shoes when competing. And I know around the ground, people tend to take their shoes off and walk around socks and things like that. That's really your call. I guess it's just be careful. Okay, a lot of people put their slip-ons or sliders, whatever they call them, on. But just be careful. It is a venue that I know it's well looked after, well managed, but you just never know. And if you look at the little athlete on the left-hand side, you'll notice he's got bike pants underneath his shorts. They're fine. Must be black or the colour of your club shorts. Certainly can't wear the skin-coloured ones, but you can definitely wear black or red. So perfect. In fact, both the boys have got their bike pants on there. So, yeah, so that's your uniform. Do that, you're fine. So the venue, Sheldon College. For those that don't know, Sheldon College, 47 Taylor Road, Sheldon. So depending on where you're coming from, it's just off Boundary Road. It's almost very rural out that way, but it's quite pleasant once you get there. This is our second year that the region is having our event at Sheldon. So it's pretty good from our point of view. The college is very happy with us, so hence the continuation. What we do ask is we respect their facilities and their surrounds. Okay, you see, obviously they invest a lot of money in their facility, so we need to treat that accordingly. Looking at the picture, we have access to the track area, so that's obviously the track and its immediate surrounds, the infield, the outside of the track. The concourse, which is that concrete area just above the green strip in the 100-metre straight. I don't know if I can point and show you there, but it leads up to that concourse area, raised area, which is good viewing as well, might I add. The car park, the top oval, which is to the left there, which is where warm-ups can be done, and toilet facilities. So that's all we have. So you can see the swimming pool there. I know it's going to be tempting on Sunday, but unfortunately it's a no-go zone, as is all those areas behind. So please respect those. And as I said, do not venture off or explore other parts of the school precinct. Unacceptable behaviour within the school isn't acceptable, and it isn't acceptable under LAQ policies and process. So we make sure that everyone's doing the right thing. Waste bins will be around the place, so please make sure that you do use waste bins, so that at the end of the day, those that are left to sort of pack up and return stuff to the club aren't left having to pick up rubbish. Tent pegs are permitted outside of the track. So inside, there won't be any tents anyway, but outside of the track are fine to use. And unless assisting at the event, please stay outside of the track. Warm-up facility, it's up the top there. That top left-hand corner, you can see a little square oval next to the tennis courts. That's your warm-up area. It's also where the the girls' discus is going to be. So please if they're in progress, please be careful of that. It's a no smoking, no alcohol and no pets facility. And that's exactly the same as what LAQ have as well. So it's consistent with that. So please make sure that we don't do any of those naughties. In terms of access, this picture gives us a fairly good idea. You'll notice the star at the top of the right-hand corner. So that Taylor Road, that's coming from Boundary Road. So the big roundabout that will either go straight ahead towards Mount Gravatt or turn right to go into Capalaba, coming from Thornlands or Victoria Point. So you're turning at that roundabout left, you'll go down Taylor Road, and look, that's only like 500 metres, if that. That first entry that's the main entry into the facility for that parking area. However, to access it, you do need to go down to the roundabout, turn and U-turn at the roundabout to come back, because it is a no turn at what's called gate 1. You have the option as well of going in via the roundabout and then sort of working your way back along that immediate car park. So this gives you a bit more of an idea. You can see there I've put the little red lines there. Do the roundabout. That's the easiest way. Come back in. You've got the car park down near the tennis centre area, the staff student car park, or you've got the overflow. Last count, there's about 850 athletes going. So times that by 1.2, and that'll give you an idea of how many people are going to be there. So you're looking at about 12 to 1,300 people. So if you're wanting to get there nice and early so you will get a park. Access to the facility, if you've never been there before, you find your way to the tennis courts, and then you follow the blue line along the pathway. You go down this angled pathway to the concourse. off the concourse, down some steps, and then your track side. The green area, that's where our tent will be located. This screen gives you a bit more of an idea. So first aid will be located inside the track at the finish line, just beyond the finish line, indicated by obviously the red cross, the red and white cross. Toilets are up on the concourse underneath the building. It's an easy way to find that, so don't get too worried about that. Our tent is going to be located at position F. Okay, it's the same position we had last year. So once you arrive, you come down where the yellow line is. You can see the yellow line coming down. That's the pathway for girls discus. But from where it comes off the road, that's the same pathway as I had in the previous screen. Call room, located at position 2, which is at the end of or start of the 100-metre straight. We're going to sort of squeeze it in there. So hopefully that works. It was in the infield last year, but decided that we'll change it from there because there's a bit of an issue with kids crossing the track. So we don't want kids crossing the track without any control. Access to the centre of the oval, only for helpers and people at event sites. So you can't run into the centre to get pictures of kids. It's totally not allowed. It's no different to states at LAQ level. And the only other one is at long jump. You'll notice position 13 right down the bottom. That's the spectator area. It's a below ground sort of level to look at, but there's not a lot of room up there. So we need room for the officials to conduct the event. And generally speaking, it's a very popular event. So there's a lot of kids. So we don't want parents in there and making it more crowded, and see how close it is to the track. So when we've got relays on, especially 4x1s, where they're using those outside lanes, we just don't want any more people there than we can afford. So we ask our guys to respect that. So what do you do when you arrive at Sheldon? So as I said, make your way to the club tent. I've told you where it is. Find your way there. Find a space to call home for the day. There should be plenty of room. We'll have our club tents there. We'll have some basic facilities. You can bring your own camp chair, picnic blankets, etc. There won't be a lot of room. It's a slightly sloping area. There's some trees up behind us. If you wanted to sit behind it under the trees, it is actually quite a nice grassed area. So don't get too worried about that. The weather will be hot, so I think under the trees will be perfect. Importantly, sign in with the team manager at our club tent. So we'll have some tables there. Angela's our team manager. She'll be wanting everyone to sign in so that we know that you're there. It's very important. Be respectful of other teams next to us. So we all will be pretty close to each other. So we ask that we all work together and set up and get along with each other. We don't generally have problems, but it's just, once again, just making sure everyone's aware of that. Team manager's role on the day, it's full on, guys. It's really full on. If you can assist, whether it be a small thing, whether it be filling up a water bottle, whether it be collecting her dinner, a lunch or something like that, anything that makes the day more easier will make a big difference. Check to see if you're on canteen duties, either at the start or the end of the day. I will put a post on Facebook chasing up people if they can help us. We only have the start and end. We don't have it during the day, which I think is fantastic because we get to look at our kids and we get to see them run. So have a look at that. We do need helpers to start with more so. At the end, a few people just to help pack it up. Call room, we'll have a roster done up for call room. I'll try and get it done and get it out before Sunday, but please check to see when you're on. Everyone will get a go in there. And really, it's not a difficult role, but it's a role that we have to fulfill. Our job at the carnival is call room. So a team manager, what do? Well, they do pretty much everything. They manage our teams throughout the day, which is very, very full on. They make changes to teams as required within the rules of competition. And this is probably the point to highlight the most, is the rules of relays are under a 2-year trial, and they've changed again this year. So it's extremely important that people don't take it on themselves to make changes, because we can actually have a team that becomes ineligible, and then therefore they're not running for any chance of progressing. So it's so important to not do anything, to always go through the team manager. Team manager attends to any protests that occur, and I'll go through that a bit later. They coordinate all aspects of both track and field teams. So they're chasing up, they're asking, where is such and such? Where's this person? You know, they need to be here. Does anyone know where this person is? They're always trying to keep on top so that our teams get to call room or to their field event on time so they compete. I think the thing to highlight here is with relays is if you don't have, especially for track, field you can get away with it, but track, if you don't have 4 runners, you don't have a team, you don't run. It's as simple as that. So we do need everyone to be aware of the program, aware of times and what to do. And a lot of this is really find the team manager if you're unsure and they will help you. And again, if you can assist, please offer. The best support is being on time, know your events and their times and listen for announcements. I guess be proactive, take ownership, don't rely on everyone else. That's probably the most important thing from a team manager's perspective. And then the next one, do not make any changes to teams or teams running orders without the knowledge or permission of the team manager, as you may be breaking rules by doing so. So as I mentioned, we're under a 2-year trial. The rules have changed. We do not want to put teams out there in the knowledge that they're going to be disqualified. It's an awful place to be. And the kids just get so upset by it if parents do make changes that we don't know about. So yeah, please refrain from doing that and work with us on that. So what are our track events? Well, firstly, all our track relay teams must go through call room. You can't just rock up out on the track. You have to go through call room. If you don't, you don't compete. Simple as that. Calls for events will be made by the PA system, and I can tell you the PA system is the same as we had last year. It's fantastic. And they're made 20 minutes prior. So ideally, you should be at the club tent 40 minutes prior to that track event, unless you're at a field event competing. And that's so that you can be taken up to the top with one of our trainers, our coaches, and warmed up. All 4 members must go at the same time to call room. When you get your chance in call room, you'll see how important that becomes. The last thing we want to do at call room is have 3 kids or 2 kids sitting there and we're trying to work out where the other 2 are. So we will not let teams into call room unless they've got all 4 members. It's as simple as that. Please assemble with your team 40 minutes before your track relay event at the club tent. So Angela will be calling out. She'll be saying under 10s, 4x1s, please, you need to be here. Who's not? And that's their role to then find them. And they may get you guys to also try and help find those kids. For those that can wear spikes, don't wear your spikes until you get to call room. That's a standard rule in all Little Athletics Queensland and Little Athletics Australia events. Do not be late to call room, okay? That's the most important thing. If you have to cut your warm-up short, you have to cut it short. You cannot be late to call room because once they leave call room, it's too late. And I know that I'm in call room managing it, but I also want to get home at a reasonable time at the end of the day, and I don't want the track running behind. And call room is where track can run behind. So teams come in, I get them ready. Once it's time to go out, they're gone. If you're not there, you miss out. It's as simple as that. Make sure if wearing spikes, you have them all fitted. No missing spikes are permitted. I will check spikes. Last year, I pulled up a couple of kids for wearing the wrong size spikes, so they were too long. They had to change them. So please take the time before you go to call room to check your spikes. Make sure they're all in there. If they're not, you can actually buy some from the canteen this year. We're going to have a few packs available for sale. They're about $12. There's 12 in there, so you've got plenty for your shoes and plus a few extras. But at the end of the day, if you don't fill in all your spikes, whether it be with a spike or a blunt, you can't wear the shoes. That's a rule. Be race ready. There's nothing worse than having athletes come in and they haven't got their tops, their shoes are gone, their socks are missing. You have to come into call room race ready so that when we say, okay, time to go out, you're going out, you are ready to race. That's as simple as it gets. So those things aren't difficult to manage. It's just being organised and being willing, I guess, to make sure that you've done everything you can to get yourself into a position where you can, I guess, enjoy the race, but also take a lot of stress away through things that you know you can't do, but you have done. So hopefully we can make sure that doesn't happen. And finally, all relay races are timed finals. So if we have heats, it will be timed finals, especially in the younger age groups. So 4x1s, there's 3 heats. So 24 teams, you got to race like it's a final, because we won't be running heats and then semis and then finals. It's one race, one chance. So our track events, 4x1, probably the easiest relay race. I'll give you a brief description. You can see down the bottom right finish line. That's also our start line. It's a staggered start. Everyone starts in their lanes, and each club will have their own lane for the whole day. Okay. I haven't got that allocation as yet, but as soon as we do, the team manager will know that anyway. But you start in your lane and you stay in your lane. It's as simple as that. The first athlete around to the entry to the start, roughly round to the end of the bend. Next runner runs the back straight, changes around that 200-metre zone area, and then the final change is at the top of the straight. There are other changeover zones which you can see. I'm not sure if everyone can see. There's little orange little lines in there. They're your staggers, they're your changeover zones. So that's as simple as it is. It's a fully laned event. So please do not cross lanes. Do not do anything that will compromise the team. If one child does the wrong thing, the whole team, unfortunately, will suffer. The Swedish relay. So a little bit different here. So the Swedish relay starts at the 200-metre mark. It's a staggered start with the first athlete running entirely in their lane. And they'll run around to the 100-metre the changeover zone for the 4x1. So you can see the orange markers are in there. That's the 4x1 changeover zones. They'll make the change. And as soon as they leave that change zone, you'll notice there's a break line at about the 80-metre mark. Once the athletes pass through that break line, which there'll be cones on the track, they are then free to move into lanes 1 and 2, and that's where the race finish starts. Oh, sorry, that's where the race for the remainder stays. Next important thing to remember, and I'll touch on this a bit later on, but then you're into the 300-metre leg, so past the start finish line, around the bend again to the 200-metre start line, and that's your next changeover. That then becomes your 200-metre leg, and around you come around the bend, down the straight to the start finish line again, and then you've got your 400-metre start athlete. So that's your fourth and final leg. So that's your Swedish in very simplistic terms. I'll touch base a bit more on some of the finer points in a minute. The medley relay, a lot easier. Starts at the start finish line, finishes at the start finish line. Your first athlete, 200 metres, around they go. Standard 200 metres. Laned event. They make their changes at the 200, and the next athlete, athlete number 2, also does a 200. It's a laned event. So very important for those athletes, they stay in those lanes. The next change is for the 400-metre leg, one full lap. They must stay in their lane, though, for the first part of their race, which is around the bend to a break line at the entry to the back straight. Like the Swedish, when they pass that break line, they are free to move into lanes 1 and 2. And there they remain for the remainder of their leg before they hand over to the final athlete who does the 800, which is totally an unlaned leg. Now, for both the Swedish and the medley, they are considered unlaned events. So athletes from under 11s and under 12s will not be permitted to wear spikes because it is considered an unlaned event. Field events, these are easy, guys. Just go straight to your field events. There's no need to go through a call room. There's no need to do anything different. The only thing that athletes need to do is watch the track, making sure that there's nothing going on and it's safe to go there. That's really the only important thing about field. The boys are at the northern end. The girls are at the southern end. The only exception is the girls' discus, which is up on the top oval. So you can see here, summary again, that's the same slide I had before. So 7, 9, and 5, they're your discus shot and high jump for boys. 6 and 10 is your girls shot and high jump. 8 up the top is your girls discus. 3 and 4 down the very bottom is your boys and girls long jump. So that's where your field locations are. And as I said, you cross the track wherever you want to, but please, not near the finish line. I know we're very close to the finish line, so I'd encourage you either to walk around behind the tents if you're going to position 7. 5, you should be able to go pretty much straight across. 9, again, you go up to where B and C are, come across through there. For your bottom end events, so your girls' events at the bottom end or long jump, simply go down the outside of the track towards call room and work your way around that way. That's the safest way. So rules of relays, I'm going to cover off on just the main ones here, which are the ones we tend to see most of the times. Not sorry about the quality of the picture, but the highlighting factor here is our changeover zones. And I'll come back to the picture and highlight something in a moment. So what is a changeover zone? So it's the only area that you can pass the baton to your teammate. Outside of that area, you can't change the baton. So it's the only spot you can change that baton and remain in the race. What does it look like? Look at the picture on the screen. And you can see that the outgoing athlete, which is the athlete in front, is just about on that yellow tick line. It's called a tick. That's the end of their changeover zone. It's the same marking at the other end, except the tick comes back inwards. So that's your changeover zone. We won't have cones or anything. It's going to be those markers. So on the day when you get there, first event's at 8 o'clock, don't be afraid. Take the kids out there, show them the changeover zones, what they look like. That's what you're looking for. Can I change the baton before or after the changeover zone? Nope. As I said there, it said before, it can only be done inside the area. Is it the baton or the athlete that determines if in or out of the changeover zone? It's a good question, and it's the baton. It's always the baton. So the athlete can be outside of the changeover zone, but if the baton is inside the changeover zone, that is fine, so long as the change is made inside it. So if the athlete passes, so in this picture we've got here, the little girl behind, if she passes the baton to the other girl's outside the changeover zone, but she passes the baton while she's inside the changeover zone, so long as the change is affected, that's fine. But if both athletes still have contact with the baton and they're outside the changeover zone, the baton moves outside, then that's unfortunately going to result in a disqualification. So very important that we let our kids know that, and we'll do some stuff on Saturday with that. How long is the changeover zone for little A's? Does anyone know? Anyone have a guess how long that changeover zone is? No volunteers? 30 metres. So it's plenty of length. There's plenty of time to make that change. The little kids won't use anywhere near that. Where do I go once I have changed over the baton? This is a really good question, and it's very easy as well. Stay in your lane until all athletes from all other teams have changed their baton and moved away. Our officials will help to direct you off the track. So that's the most important thing. And the main reason behind that is you're not getting in the way of any other athletes, especially if the team's behind you. If you walk into a lane and obstruct them, that's cause for a protest, and that's what we don't want to have. So we must tell the kids, stay in your lanes and just wait. So staying in your lane. What events do I need to stay in my lane? So all 4x1s, totally 100%, it's a laned event. The first leg of the Swedish, which is the 100. The second leg of the Swedish until the break line, and it's only going to be for 20 to 30 metres, but it's still a laned event at that point in time. The third leg of the medley, so that's the 400, until the break line at the start of the back straight. And sorry, the other one is also the 200-metre legs of the medley. I thought I had that in there, but I've obviously forgotten it. But it's a 200-metre legs of the medley as well. Why do I need to stay in my lanes and others don't? So we're talking, I guess, here with the medley in the Swedish, where you might see someone that's gone ahead and they're running in lane 1 when they started in lane 5 or something like that. It's because we want to make sure that everyone runs the right distances. All relays races will start using the staggered start, and that ensures the correct distances are achieved. So for those parts that are laned, we must make sure the kids don't come across those lines. What if I run out of my lane? It's really quite simple. Don't. If you run out of your lane, it means you've run less distance than your leg and will mean the team is disqualified as they, as a collective, have not run the entire race distance. So we don't want them to do that. We want to encourage them to run in the lanes and not go outside of their lanes. Changeover positions. Used in the Swedish and the medley events only. This is where, if there's going to be issues, this is where it's going to happen. So for a Swedish runner, so the first runner does a 100-meter leg. There's nothing to worry about. It's purely within their lanes. So all they have to do is stay in their lanes and make their baton change within the changeover zone. The second runner who does the 300, again, nothing to worry about. Stay in your lane until you pass the break line, and then move into lanes 1 and 2 and stay there until the end. The third runner, this is where the fun begins. So the third runner who's doing a 200-meter leg, your place on the track is determined by the order of the 300-meter runner, so the second runner, as they pass the finish line. The fourth runner, who's the 400, their place is determined by the order the third runner passes the 200-meter mark. Okay, so that we'll put this up, and I'm happy to take questions on that. It does get a bit confusing, but it's very, very simple if we've got officials that know what they're doing, and I'll touch base on that shortly. For the medley, very similar. First runner, nothing to worry about, stay in your lane. The second runner, again, nothing to worry about, stay in your lane. The third runner, who's doing the 400-meter leg, you start in your designated team lane, and then you move into the lanes 1 and 2 at the start of the back straight. But the fourth runner, they are placed on the track as determined by the order the third runners past the 200-meter mark. So officials will place you onto the track inside to out in these orders. Okay, so what will happen is, as, say for argument's sake, in a medley, our 400-meter runners are off, they're around the back, the first bend, they're running down the back straight. As they go through the 200-meter mark, the two ways will start crackling. The officials will say, Redlands, because we were always going to be first, Redlands is first, so Redlands will be called onto the track into lane 1. The second team that goes through, Algester, come onto the track. You and now will be put into lane 2 or close to it. The third team, Wynnum Manly, they will then be brought in. So this is all going to happen pretty quickly. So the kids need to get used to doing that. And you can see the guys there on the track, which leads to the next question. What if athletes change positions after the above? So it's after they've gone through a point, a 200-meter point, but before they change the baton. So Redlands might be going through the 200-meter mark in third position, but by the time they get to the 800-meter runner, they've moved up to first. They still change in third place. That does not change. So you can see in the picture, you'll see the team in blue, their runner, they're coming in, he's actually behind 3 others. So he was third going into the change, but now he looks like he's about 4th. It looks like you've got the Jamaican, the Spain team, Cuba, and Poland have come past him, but he still stays in third. His athlete stays in third on the line. You do not change. So if officials tell you to change, do not do it. Okay, that's the most important thing. Stay in your position. And you can do what they're doing. They've just got their hands there on each other's backs just to create a bit of room. So we're not going to trip over feet or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as they don't push them over, you're fine. A drop baton. This is obviously a very high stressful moment, and a lot of things can go wrong and usually do. The most important thing I think for this one, guys, is if a child drops a baton, support them 100%. Okay, they're going to feel bad enough as it is. They've let the team down. That's how they're going to feel. There's going to become a blame game. We do not want that. We had it last year, and it's really awful for kids to see and experience and hear. Parents, you just need to accept it. If it happens, it happens. So the process to follow to avoid disqualification. The first question, questions have to be asked firstly before acting, but don't panic. That's probably the thing. Don't panic. The first question you need to ask is, who is in control of the baton when it was dropped? And that's critical. So how do you determine who's in control of the baton? So when a batton's changed, if it's in the hands of the incoming athlete and they drop it before they pass it, obviously they have to pick it up. If both hands are on the baton and it's dropped, the incoming athlete picks it up. If the baton has changed hands entirely in the outgoing athlete's hands, they pick it up. If there's anything different to that, there's a disqualification pending. Okay, so it's very important. It's normally going to be, if the most two common ones is someone drops it and they've got total control of it, the outgoing athlete is still going forward and they may have dropped the baton. The incoming athlete will pick it up to make it quicker. That's generally where most of the issues will happen. So we need to let them know not to. Did the baton go outside of my lane? So obviously you drop a baton, there's a fair chance it's going to roll, it's going to move, it's going to go somewhere. If it goes outside of the lane, first question they need to ask, the athletes need to ask themselves is, who picks it up? The second question they need to ask themselves is it safe to go into that lane and get that baton without interfering with that team? And if the answer is yes, go ahead and do it. If the answer is no, do not do it. You have to wait and let that team go through before you can get the bat. It's horrible, it's hard, but that's the rules. So we need to make sure that, and I can say for younger athletes, they won't remember that. They will just go and get the bat. That's their first and foremost thing. It's on their mind. Question 3, did the baton go forward once dropped? So this is a very technical rule, but if the baton is dropped and it goes through, or it's accidentally kicked forward, which is, it does happen, the baton must be retrieved and brought back to the position the baton was dropped before it can continue. Because if the rules of relay say that it's the baton that must travel the distance, not the athletes, it's the baton. Now, by virtue of the fact the baton's in a hand means the athlete does as well, but it's the baton, and it's for this reason. So if the baton's dropped, propelled forward, it must be returned by the person who can pick up the baton back to that point. That's where the race continues for that team. And if it disadvantages them, so be it. Don't interfere, disadvantage, or get in the way of other athletes. So that's the important message there. Officials. All our officials on the day are club volunteers. We need to respect that. They're no different to what we have at club. Every region has an event that they're appointed. A lot of these people, for them, it's going to be their first time. They've never done it before. And track is always the one that gets a lot of scrutiny. Springwood do our track because Springwood's our largest club. And a lot of these people are still learning themselves. So we've just got to be tolerant. There will be mistakes made. We try and work through them as best we can. We are lucky our region has some very experienced, knowledgeable and competent officials. So we will draw on that. We will ask questions and we will try and get to the bottom of it. Most issues received concerning officials will be track relay related. And that will be things like an athlete stepped on the inside line of their lane, which is not part of their lane, or the baton's gone outside of the changeover zone when changed. They're the most common things. We do ask that we respect the officials' decisions. Sometimes, and look, I've had it where 2 or 3 years ago, I had a very disappointing outcome from a protest, and we asked for dispensation. We just have to respect the decisions. I'll try my best to, if I believe that there's a case to answer, but at the end of the day, if the decision's there, the decision's there. We've just got to take it on the chin as hard as it can be. There is a protest pathway in place, and I'll talk about that shortly. It is suggested to have parents of teams at changeover zones to video races on their phones, but you must capture the entire changeover from before the changeover zone to after it. So what I mean by that, if we go back to what I was talking about with Swedish and medley and the position that athletes are put in their lanes. So an example I'll give, going back a few years, we had in our under 9s 4x1s, we got to the last change. Our third athlete came around, I think, in lane 7, and their athlete that was ready to receive the baton was in lane 8. Oh, sorry, it's the other way around. They came around in lane 8, and our other athlete was in lane 7. So the athlete coming in moved across into lane 7 because that's where their athlete was put. And of course, therefore, they shortened the distance. So they were disqualified. So what we need to video is videoing where athletes are put on the track. Okay, so if an official puts them in third, but they should have put them in fourth, and we come around and move into third, well, we can say, well, hang on, we've got evidence here that shows that they were put in the wrong lane by the official. So it's really important. And I almost suggest having 2 videos going for each changeover zone. I know it's pedantic, but it is what it is, because you need to keep an eye on those athletes in their lanes the whole time. And if they're moved by the official, then we can say that this is what's happened. Because with a protest, unless you got very concise evidence, very rarely will they succeed. So protests, and I think everyone will remember this wasn't a protest, this was a DQ event at the Com Games, I think, on the Gold Coast. So what is a protest? It's where a team or an athlete is disqualified from an event and there exists reason that course of action is incorrect. Okay, so what we're saying is, based on the information that, and the only person that can disqualify an athlete will be a referee, be it a track referee or a field referee. And the teams will be called, the team manager will be called to, in the case of a track relay, they'll be called to the start line, finish line, and told the news at that point in time. Who can lodge a protest? The team manager is the only person that can lodge a protest. Okay, there are rules and there are protocols to apply. How can a protest be lodged? Verbally to the referee. So the referee will call us to the finish line and tell us your team's been disqualified. We have 15 minutes then to make a determination of whether we want to challenge that decision. And we can provide them with a verbal protest, say we have evidence to suggest that what you're saying is wrong and we don't think it's the right decision, we'll protest it. Does it cost to lodge a protest? It's $55, but you get it back if it's successful. So that's why it's so important when we've got a protest to really make sure that it is going to be a chance, because if it's not, we've wasted $55. The club does not pay that $55. It's up to the team members to decide if they want to pay that, okay? What do we need to protest? Absolute evidence of the error, conclusive video to confirm otherwise. Okay, so if we've been disqualified because we've ran outside of our lane and we've got evidence that says no, it was actually lane 3 that was run out, not lane 4, then we can put that through. We can go to them and say, look, here it is. A track umpire has to do a report. That report will show you, and on that report, they must mark where on the track that that event happened. So if we've got evidence that shows at that same point that they didn't run outside of their lane, then we can protest on the grounds that the report is wrong. They've seen something that wasn't there. It must have been another athlete. We'll protest that. Okay, call room duties. We're whizzing through this, which is really good. Check the roster upon your arrival. Okay, call room is pretty busy, but we do get through it quite easily if everyone turns up. If you cannot make it, you need to find a replacement. It's your responsibility. We will not have time on the day to chase someone up. Okay, so we really do trust and put the onus back on individuals. We'll try and I'll look at the program and what events people are in and try and put people. I like to actually do it when the kids are actually out there running, because you're going to be out there, you're going to be out on the track and you're going to be seeing it. And then what we'll do is when you're out there, when your child's running, you get to see them, and in call room, you get to have a chat with them. You get to see them run up close, and while their race is on, yeah, you get to watch them. So you don't have to jostle for position. So it's actually quite good in that regard. Looking for about 6 people per shift. So I'll be in there all day. And my role is just to make sure that call room functions properly, works well. The roles that we will have is simply taking athletes out to their track changeover zones and return. And the other role will be staying in the tent and helping to put people into their teams, their lanes, and doing a bit of checking of uniforms and spikes and shoes and things like that. Wear comfortable shoes, guys. You'll get your steps up. So if you've got any of those digital recorders of your steps, you'll certainly work them up on this day. Bring a hat, some water, because it's supposed to be hot. We will have shade at call room, but by all means do those two things. First event is 8 a.m. to get the day started on time. We need first group call room by 7:15. So if we start late at call room, the whole day is just going to go late. So I will drive call room at the start pretty hard to make sure that we get there. So if I've got you on first shift, please can I get you there nice and quick, nice and early, so we can get these teams in and get them out onto the track. So at 8 a.m, the first gun goes. Canteen. So we are managing the canteen for the region. Again, we did it quite successfully last year. We're a little bit down on manpower, so hopefully we can find a couple of people that can really step up. Canteen provides valuable income for the region to help keep our costs down. So for those that are unaware, when we were at QSAC, it's probably costing us 13 grand for the two events. The high costs are just going up. Last year, when we had it at Sheldon, the event was cost neutral, and we actually put money into the kitty, and that allows us now to use those costs to reduce the club contribution and or keep club championship costs down, which will be over 2 days at SAP. We have the first shift and the last shift. So the first shift, we'll mostly be cooking sausages in readiness for that lunch rush. So we'll be, if anyone's pretty handy on the barbecue, wants to keep warm, it'll be pretty warm by then, I reckon, anyway. But that you're most welcome to get there, cook some sausages, some onions, and get it all into the warmers. The last shift will be finishing off some serving, but mostly it'll be packing down. First shift, 2 hours, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'm happy, guys. If people want to come for an hour, then someone else come for another hour. I'm more than happy. I'm very, very flexible. I just need bods there. So I'm going to put up a Facebook post. The last shift is 4 p.m. till close. So hopefully we can get a few people that can stay around and help pack up, because we have to pack up all the stuff that we've taken for the competition, plus the canteen, take it all back to the clubhouse. Our day doesn't finish at 4 p.m. when the carnival does. We're probably still another 2 hours away. So the more the people that can help us, the better. First shift, I think I had 6 before. Oh, no, 5. About 5 people for the first shift. 4 to serve and 1 on barbecue. But again, it's unlikely to be overly busy, so that will change. And we will have a supervisor at canteen whose job is to make sure that everything goes well. So people will be given a designated role. That's their role for the event. 100% cashless, which is pretty good. And please comment on our Facebook post when you can. I'll be putting that up tonight. So if you can help on canteen, we really would love to have you there to help out for a short time or as long as you can. So the important question, how do we get through to states? And these two young ladies in our picture broke regional records, they broke state records. They went all the way, these two, they were amazing. So hopefully we can get some more to it. The only athletes in the under 9 to under 17 age groups can qualify for state relays. So our 7s and 8s, they get their participation medals, and for our 8s, when they come back next year, that's when they go for states. The top 3 teams in each track event shall qualify for state relays. All teams progressing to state relays shall be based on times only. That is, there's no qualifying standard. So you finish 4th, but you hit a qualifying standard, you don't go. It is what it is. It's just the top 3. When we go to championships in the second half of the season, qualifying standards come into play. In field, it's the top 2 teams. Okay, so it's a little bit different. Qualifying teams cannot be changed unless through injury, illness, or absence. So if you get your team through to states and someone decides that they want to go and play some funny games and breaks an ankle or a leg or an arm, something they can't go to states, we can substitute athletes in. However, can only be replaced with another athlete who's already competed at regional relays. So we can't bring someone else in that didn't go. They have to have gone, and they have to meet the criteria for that team. So if it's an under 10s 4x1, it has to be another under 8. If it's a combined team, it has to be, 10. If it's a combined team, it has to be an athlete from within that age group banding, but also meet the criteria that goes with that combined team. And that's it, guys. So I think everyone should be able to take off their mics and feel free, ask any questions that you may have that I may not have covered off on, just so that I can help answer all those. anyone got anything?
I've got one about the Coles patches. Neither of
Yep.
my kids have Coles patches.
So we'll be taking Coles. So okay, we will have them. So I suggest Saturday at club. You're going to club on Saturday. Get them then.
Yep.
It only has to be pinned on. It doesn't have to be stitched on. It can be pinned on. We will be taking a supply to the event anyway. That will be at the team manager's desk or table, just in case.
Yep. No, they can pick some up on Saturday.
Yep, that's the best way. Yep. And that gets ready because if you go to states, you have to be fully compliant. So that's what we're trying to get everyone compliant now.
Yep.
We're actually away, so my parents are taking my children. So we won't be there to do rosters in there, unfortunately, because we're away.
Okay. Who am I talking to?
Adam and Zoe McBrien.
Okay, no, that's fine. McBrien, B-R-I-E-N.
McBrien, yeah.
Yep, Liam, is it? Okay.
Liam
yep,
and
okay.
Laura.
No, that's fine. That's okay. I can make that adjustment.
And did you say that we could get extra spikes at the canteen that day?
Yes, there will be spikes available. I think we've got about 25 packets. So
Okay.
we haven't got a lot. So you get there, as soon as you get there, I'll probably put a post up on our Facebook page, but I'm very conscious because I don't want everyone else from other clubs coming and buying.
Can we pick them up on Saturday with the Coles badges?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. Definitely can.
Okay.
So definitely do it then.
Thank you.
Has the field event teams been posted up yet? I've seen the track, but just not the field.
Yep. So what we'll do, we'll have all this information down at the club on Saturday. So we've only just finished getting everything sorted. We've had behind the scenes, a lot of stuff happens. The number one thing I can say is with relays. So the way relays work, and I did actually was going to put this in the slide, but I got caught short on time. So what happens with relays for field is the athletes go to the event and they compete as individual athletes. What happens at the end of the event is that the top two placed Redlands athletes have their best performance combined. So if myself and say Jamie was doing long jump and we both jumped 4 meters and that was our best jump, then our team's jumps total will be 8 meters. That's then compared to all the others the same way. If that places us top 2, we go to states. We can have 2 teams go through the states, okay, as well. So that's a possibility. Now, when we did the nominations, when they came through, one of the things we look for is to make sure that every field event where we have a participant in it has at least 2 people. So they're not teams per se, they are just individuals, and the top 2 on the day will have their results paired together to form a team. And if that team's result is enough to place in top 2, they will go through the states.
Okay,
Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but we'll definitely have on Saturday I'm still waiting for our final listing to come through because there was a few errors and hiccups with Results HQ taking information through from our nominations to the final report. So we've had to make some adjustments through the LAQ, but hopefully I'll have that before Saturday that I can have it at the club, and I'll have a copy at canteen and I'll have a copy at the clubhouse that people can have a look at.
So I can also confirm for Amelia that she is in for discus and shot put as well. But for anybody else who has the same question, if you hop onto Results HQ, you should be able to see upcoming results for Sunday's meet, and it should say their field events that they're listed in as well.
So if they aren't on there and you think they should have been, then let us know, because there was a few that were left off. I believe I've picked up on all of them. So, but by human error, it's possible. Hopefully it's not, but just check that out and have a look. Okay. Any other questions? Yep.
Yeah, just with the Swedish, are they going to be doing any training with that this Saturday or?
Absolutely. So that we'll
Okay.
cover off on all the elements that we went through in the presentation today. So things like, we'll practice some baton dropping, what happens there. We'll practice the getting into position for once the athletes go past, say the 300 meter mark or the 200 meter mark for the next leg, just things like that. Yes.
And we'll also have the zones set up so they can practice changing within the zones.
Okay. And will if all members of their team is there for the age group, will they actually know
Yes,
what
that's the
position
aim.
they're running in?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we ideally, that's what we would like to have happen. Unfortunately, we can't determine or dictate to parents they have to be there. We'd love them to be there, but unfortunately, not all of them turn up for various reasons. So,
but there's the option to find out what actual position in the Swedish that they'll be
Yes.
running.
we'll
Yes.
definitely
We only just finished finalising that today. So yeah, I'll definitely go through with every single team exactly what leg they're running and where we want them to stand. So yeah. We've also
Awesome.
got a coach, because our normal coach Jeff and Kira and Ben are unavailable on Sunday. We've teed up to Neil Jones, who is an ex-Little Athletics member, and she's got a few records at our club. And she's got a lot of knowledge with relays as well. She will be there to warm up all the athletes and go through it with them just before their events as well.
Awesome.
Okay. Anything else, guys? I guess the most important thing, that's pretty much everything then. I guess the most important thing is on the day, in summary, it's an awesome event for the kids. They will love it. So sharing their fun, their happiness. There will be some disappointments, so work with them on that. Help us by helping yourself. Be there on time. Make sure you're ready, organised. By all means, ask Angela if you have any questions, but also take the time to look at things. We're still waiting on the final program order to come out. There is a draft out, but unfortunately this year, the club that's doing the organising of the event is a little bit unsure. It's not quite doing it the way that we would like it. So there's a lot of pushing and shoving going on behind the scenes. So that's what we're waiting on from with a couple of things, program being one. But we should have that out very, very shortly. But yeah, look, just enjoy the day for what it is. But the more you can help the people that are helping our club run it, the better. And it makes them also have an enjoyable day. I know Angela and I do a lot of work, and I know Jamie does a lot of work as well. And we do have kids there as well. And yeah, we do miss out a lot. So the more that people can help us, it just means that we get that little opportunity every now and then just to see our kids run as well. So that's all we ask back from everybody, to respect the work that we put in by turning up when you need to, and doing your little bit just to help the club, because that makes the day much more enjoyable. All right. If that's it then, guys.
It was just a question that came up on
Yep.
the chat to see if there was any presentations on the day. Did they do?
Okay, so presentations at relays, there are no medals for any 9s through to 17. We don't do medals. We only do them at states for relays. 7s and 8s will receive a participation medal, and they will come to the team manager, and we will distribute them either on the day, or if we have any leftovers that've gone home or whatever, we'll get them to them at the next club day. No more questions, guys? Everyone's nice and quiet? Awesome. All
Hello,
right.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, can you really? That was amazing. Thank you very much.
Who's that?
Andy Hiker, True Hikers.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, appreciate that, mate. Appreciate that.
Mate, that was amazing. Thank you very much. Answered a lot of questions.
Look, it's easy for us. We've been in Little A's for 14 years, about 14 years. So look, and I understand. So we've seen these events come and go. We've got a lot of experience behind us and knowledge. And I easily can remember the days when we first started and it was overwhelming. There's so much going on, and time does erode that anxiety, that stress, the unsurety. And obviously as time goes by, the knowledge grows as well.
Yeah.
So we're here. We are more than happy to impart our knowledge and understanding and advice. So by all means, just come up to us and ask us if you've got any questions that you're not sure of on the day or before it.
Oh, no, I was just trying to learn all of that. It's a lot. I've got,
lot.
I reckon, about 80%.
We will.
80%. Because
So,
I'm not the smartest guy. But yeah, man, I want to help out as much as I can.
Good, wonderful to hear. Well, Jamie's kindly got this videoed and we're going to pop it up on the webpage. We might even try and see if we can get a link onto Facebook as well for those that couldn't attend tonight. And then they've got that opportunity to have a look at it as well before Sunday.
Yeah. And
There was
Jay said
another,
that. Guys, you don't have to talk, but I went, might help if, someone else is coming in.
Yeah, that's right. We'll store it for next year as well.
there was another question here, Rodney, on the chat.
Yeah, mate.
Whether or not there'd be early access Saturday PM to set up gazebos. Are they opening up at all the night before?
Yes, so I will get that up on Facebook as soon as I get that confirmed, because I did have a message come through from my contact at Sheldon College today, amongst many other things. So Sunday, the gates are opening at 5:45. So obviously that's when we'll be there to start setting up. So if anyone can get there nice and early to help set up canteen and call room, very, very, very much appreciated. I'll even shout you a coffee. But on Saturday, I don't think he's actually. Yeah, I'll have to get that confirmed. What the Saturday time is going to be. Okay, I know Hein will be taking the truck down. So if there's anyone that can at club on Saturday that can help with a little bit of packing in the truck, Hein will definitely be happy to take you on board there. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I'll definitely find out Saturday and I'll put that up on Facebook. So please keep an eye on Facebook over the coming 48 hours, because that's when I'll be putting more bits and pieces up. Anything else, guys?
No more questions have come up on the chat. I think everyone's happy. We're starting to drop off now. So we had, I think we had about 40 people there. We've got 27 left. So I think we're
okay. So we had about 40, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Very happy. Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, we'll shut it down, guys. Thank you for giving us your time. I know it's a midweek, but we're not going to drag on. Thank you. We'll see you all on Saturday.
One more question.
Was that a question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Who was it?
Edie Hiker, Drew Hiker's father.
Yeah,
Have
mate.
you two ever thought about doing a podcast?
I think we're a long way off that standard.
Oh, mate, that was the best. That was amazing. Well done.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
See you, mate.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate.
No worries.
We'll talk offline.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks, man.
All
Bye.
right. See you. Bye.
You two thought about doing a podcast.